This is the story of one of hip-hop's most strategic feuds, and how 50 Cent turned rejection into a calculated 6-year war with one of the most powerful women in media. But before we dive into the clickbait headline suggesting 50 Cent is warning Oprah about some imminent exposure, let's set the record straight. There's no evidence of any recent warnings or threats. What we actually have is a fascinating history between these two titans that reveals plenty about fame, strategy, and the complicated relationship between hip-hop and mainstream acceptance. So let's go back to where this whole thing began. The year is 2003, and Curtis 50 Cent Jackson has just dropped Get Rich or Die Tryin. The album becomes an instant phenomenon, moving 872,000 copies in the first week alone and debuting at #1 on the Billboard 200. By the end of that year, worldwide sales hit 12 million copies, with the album going 9 times platinum in the United States. For most artists, numbers like that would be the ultimate validation. But for 50 Cent, there was one stamp of approval he wanted more than platinum plaques or chart positions: an appearance on the Oprah Winfrey Show. And here's the thing, it wasn't even about him. His grandmother was who he wanted to impress. 50 Cent's mother died when he was just 8 years old back in 1983, and his grandparents in Queens, New York raised him after that. His grandmother watched Oprah religiously, and in 50 Cent's mind, sitting on Oprah's couch would be the moment he could finally prove to the woman who raised him that he'd truly made it. Oprah said no. She rejected him as a guest because of the content in his music, which makes sense when you think about it. The violence, the N-word, the stories from his life as a drug dealer who'd been shot 9 times in 2000. None of it aligned with what Oprah wanted on her platform. Most people would be disappointed and move on, but 50 Cent isn't wired that way. By 2006, 50 Cent went public with his criticism, telling the media, "I think she caters to older white women. Oprah's audience is my audience's parents, so I could care less about Oprah or her show." But here's where things get interesting, because 50 Cent didn't stop at interviews. He named his miniature schnauzer dog Oprah and made absolutely sure everyone knew about it. This wasn't some emotional outburst though, which is what most people assumed at the time. Years later, in his 2020 book, Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter, published on April 28th, 50 Cent revealed the thinking behind his approach. People bought into the 50 Cent persona, assuming he got into beefs because he couldn't control himself, when the reality was completely different. His philosophy came down to this: if we can't be friends, then at least let's be enemies. The book explained it further, noting that when he said, "At least let me be an enemy," people understood that his beefs were never driven by emotion, but by strategy. He wrote, "If you hate me, you're more likely to talk about me." And that calculation proved correct because the feud kept both names in the conversation for years. June 10th, 2012 brought something nobody saw coming. After 6 years of public shots and a dog named Oprah, 50 Cent appeared on Oprah's Next Chapter for OWN, Oprah's network, and the interview took place at his grandparents' house in Queens, New York. He brought his grandmother to meet Oprah, creating the moment he'd been working towards since 2003. Behind the scenes, Oprah's best friend Gayle King had facilitated the whole thing, meeting with 50 Cent privately first to bridge the gap between these two very different worlds. During the interview, 50 Cent opened up in ways that surprised people who only knew his tough exterior. He told Oprah, "This is a huge milestone for me, just being in your presence and on the show. That's a huge accomplishment." Then he shared how his grandmother reacted to Oprah's visit. "I had sold a whole heap of records, but it wasn't until Oprah showed up that my grandmother was like, 'Boy, you made it.'" Oprah confronted him about his earlier comments, saying, "That's interesting. I don't spend a lot of time looking at people who don't like me, but I did hear that you said something like I had white women in my audience that were as old as your grandmother. I felt that that was a pointed criticism." 50 Cent explained his perspective, telling her, "The truth is, all things come from your experience. Like, I got shot 9 times and I wrote music about it. Everyone writes something that can connect in a big way based on a painful moment. So you're saying we're not supposed to articulate or write it the way we experienced?" Oprah clarified where she stood. "I think it's so interesting that you thought that because I was against the use of the N-word, violence, and singing about violence and misogynism meant that I did not like you, because I did not know you." The interview revealed some surprisingly tender moments too, like how 50 Cent paints his grandmother's toenails because she can't reach them, or how he sleeps in a pink bedroom at his grandparents' house, or even that he practices meditation. The feud appeared to be over, replaced by understanding, if not complete agreement. December 2019 changed everything again, and the issue this time centered on a documentary called On the Record. Oprah had signed on as executive producer for the film, directed by Kirby Dick and Amy Ziering, which focused on sexual assault allegations against Russell Simmons, the hip-hop mogul and founder of Def Jam Records. Over 20 women had accused Simmons of sexual assault and harassment, with the allegations first going public in a 2017 New York Times article. The documentary featured Drew Dixon, a former Def Jam executive who alleged that Simmons raped her in 1994 or 1995, along with interviews with other accusers and commentary from figures like Kimberly Crenshaw and Tarana Burke. The film aimed to address how Black women's voices had been erased from the Me Too movement. Sundance Film Festival scheduled the premiere for January 2020, with Apple TV Plus set to stream it afterward as part of Oprah's deal with the platform. On December 12th and 13th, 2019, 50 Cent took to Instagram with a harsh critique that reignited their conflict. He posted, "I don't understand why Oprah is going after Black men. No Harvey Weinstein, no Epstein, just Michael Jackson and Russell Simmons. This is sad." His follow-up post added, "These documentaries are publicly convicting their targets. It makes them guilty till proven innocent." Russell Simmons joined in, posting an open letter to Oprah on Instagram, expressing his dismay over the project while denying all allegations and claiming he'd taken and passed 9 3-hour lie detector tests. Then January 10th, 2020 brought a shocking announcement just days before the Sundance premiere. Oprah was withdrawing as executive producer, and Apple TV Plus was dropping the documentary entirely, with the filmmakers receiving only 20 minutes notice before the public announcement. The stated reason came down to creative differences and inconsistencies in the victims' stories. Oprah appeared on CBS This Morning on January 21st, 2020, to explain her decision, and she made one thing crystal clear from the start. Russell Simmons had reached out multiple times and attempted to pressure her, but that pressure wasn't why she pulled out. "This is not a victory for Russell, and I unequivocally say that I did not pull out because of Russell," Oprah stated clearly. "This is not a victory lap for him. I cannot be silenced by Russell Simmons after all I've been through." She maintained throughout the interview, "I unequivocally believe and support the women." So if Russell's pressure wasn't the reason, what caused her to back out? According to Oprah, inconsistencies in the victims' stories gave her pause, and she also mentioned that Ava DuVernay, the acclaimed director, had offered a harsh critique of the film. The documentary premiered at Sundance to positive reviews in February 2020, regardless of Oprah's exit. HBO Max acquired it and released the film in May 2020. The controversy didn't die there, though, because in 2025, Drew Dixon subpoenaed Oprah in a defamation lawsuit against Russell Simmons, with Dixon wanting Oprah to provide details about those inconsistencies that made her pull out of the project. So, was 50 Cent right when he accused Oprah of unfairly targeting Black men? That question requires looking at Oprah's track record, which presents a complicated picture. Oprah maintained a friendship with Harvey Weinstein for years, and actress Kadia Noble later claimed Weinstein used Oprah swinging off his arm to gain victims' trust. After Weinstein's crimes became public in 2017, Oprah distanced herself and stated on March 7, 2018, that she had no knowledge of Weinstein's misconduct. The John of God scandal presents another troubling connection, because in 2010 and 2012, Oprah profiled Brazilian faith healer João Teixeira de Faria, even interviewing him at his center. December 2018 brought accusations from multiple women of sexual abuse and rape against John of God, and Oprah issued a statement empathizing with the accusers. Other controversies have dotted her career over the years, including the 2007 scandal at her Leadership Academy for Girls in South Africa, to which she's contributed more than $200 million. A dormitory matron named Virginia Makopo was arrested in November 2007 and faced 14 charges involving the abuse of students, which Oprah called one of the most devastating experiences of my life. More recently, August 2023 brought backlash after deadly wildfires in Maui killed at least 115 people, and Oprah launched the People's Fund of Maui with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. They seeded the fund with $10 million, but then asked the public for donations, which didn't sit well with many people, considering Oprah owns approximately 1,000 acres on Maui, including 870 acres she bought for $6.6 million in 2023. She later claimed she was terrorized by online attacks following the controversy. Conspiracy theories have also plagued Oprah over the years, and in March 2020, false claims spread that she was arrested for sex trafficking involvement. She had to deny it on Twitter, writing, "Just got a phone call that my name is trending and being trolled for some awful fake thing. It's not true. Haven't been raided or arrested." As recently as November 2024, new waves of conspiracy theories linked her to Jeffrey Epstein, even though Reuters fact-checking found no evidence of any connection between Oprah and Epstein's operations. Here's the truth that the clickbait headlines won't tell you. There's no evidence of 50 Cent issuing any recent warnings to Oprah whatsoever. Their last major public conflict centered on the Russell Simmons documentary in 2019 and 2020. And since then, nothing has been documented. No threats, no warnings, no suggestion that Oprah is next to expose. The relationship between 50 Cent and Oprah remains complicated and unresolved. They reconciled in 2012 after 6 years of strategic feuding. He criticized her again in 2019 over the documentary, but as of December 2024, there's no indication of any ongoing active feud or new developments. What we actually have is a case study in how two very different approaches to success can clash in spectacular fashion. Oprah Winfrey, with her estimated $2.8 billion net worth according to Forbes, built an empire on inspiration, aspiration, and a carefully curated brand that earned her approximately $315 million per year during her talk show's heyday. She's donated an estimated $400 million through her charities, and her angel network raised over $80 million before it was dissolved around 2010. 50 Cent built his brand on authenticity, even when that authenticity made people uncomfortable, turning his experience of being shot 9 times into platinum records and rejection into strategy. He understood something fundamental about the attention economy. Being talked about matters more than being liked. His 2012 interview with Oprah included a line that sums up his entire approach to fame and conflict. "If we can't be friends, then at least let's be enemies." The story of 50 Cent and Oprah isn't about warnings or exposures, despite what the clickbait titles would have you believe. What it really comes down to is two different versions of the American dream colliding head-on, creating sparks that kept both names in headlines for over a decade. A kid from Queens wanted to prove to his grandmother that he'd made it, and the gatekeeper of mainstream success told him his story was too raw, too real, too uncomfortable for her audience to handle. Strategic thinking met moral positioning. Hip-hop's demand for authenticity crashed into mainstream media's desire for palatability, and what looked like a personal vendetta turned out to be one of the most calculated publicity moves in entertainment history. 50 Cent eventually got what he wanted because he made it to Oprah's show, his grandmother got to meet her idol, and he created enough controversy along the way to stay relevant through changing musical landscapes while evolving into a successful television producer with shows like Power. As for whether Oprah needs to run or is next to expose, that's just clickbait trying to manufacture drama where none exists. The real story proves far more interesting than any manufactured controversy could ever be. What we're really looking at is how rejection can transform into strategy, how feuds can become publicity gold, and how two people from completely different worlds can find understanding, lose it, and leave the door open for whatever comes next. Or maybe they won't reconcile again, and you know what 50 Cent would tell you about that? It's just fine, because whether you love him or hate him, you're still talking about him. And that's always been the point from day one.